now we're going to go ahead and take a look at some bait worms, and Jerry's going to explain to you how he actually takes care of his bait worms. Now, bait worms are different than the worms that we're going to use for our gardens and our plants.
Same worm, but you feed them different because you want those as big as you can get them. Most fishermen think they need a bait this big around to catch fish. Worms are not going to get quite that big. Your night crawler has really messed up your bait industry. People think that you've got to have a bait that big around to catch a fish, and you don't. And they see these night crawlers and they frown at these red wigglers. But your more experienced fishermen want these. They don't have to be refrigerated. They all smell different. A night crawler has a different odor than a red wiggler. And people that go to Rio Grande say they'll catch 3 to 1 on red wigglers over night crawlers because they're fishing in 70, 80 foot of water. Those fish don't see down there. They're going by odor. That deep of water in that lake, you can't see that deep. Your best time for a worm around here is when you're, like at Spring Creek comes on a rise, grab your worms, head to the river. Because what's happening, the worms are washing out of the bank. As that water erodes that soil, your worms are washing out of the banks. They're naturally flowing downstream in a river on a rise, and you'll do better on worms then. Of course, we got our for perch. We fish for perch and catch 2 and 3 pound catfish routinely. On a part of a worm, not even a whole worm. We'll cut a worm 3 or 4 pieces, and we catch, not every time we go, well, several times a year. The tarps, as I mentioned before, basically keeps the birds and things off, predators out. I triple cover this. The initial cardboard is a shade, and it keeps a moisture barrier to keep the moisture in. You put cardboard and burlap, it keeps it cooler. Kind of forms an insulation barrier.
Oh man, and those are big. Oh wow, look at them all.
See, the difference here, that end was in the sun. This is in the shade of that tree.
Different types of food that you feed them. You're feeding them cardboard is a fattener. You're feeding them laying mash, chick laying mash. Yep.
Yeah, I'm checking to see which produces a fatter worm.
Okay.
So far, the laying mash is winning. The cardboard and the laying mash is strictly for the bait worms.
Oh, for bait worms, okay.
Because we pulled some bait worms out of here yesterday. See, these are a little bit fatter.
Uh-huh.
He's not real long, but that's a good fat worm. These worms here are a little bit heavier than the others were. A little bit bigger around. They'll do, with the reason we feed at the center, they'll come in and feed, and they'll move back, and they can get away from the feed. If the feed does go sour or something, they can get away from it as opposed to feeding the whole bed.
Uh-huh.
Now with the laying mash, you have to feed pretty much every day.